just received a notification. We are here.
Alright, so Facebook just must have been weird for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What are we drinking today?
We are drinking Major Dickinson's blend. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Let me turn that off. Here we are.
Maybe this is why I associate sometimes purple with Easter as well. It looks Easterly, but it's purple, see?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Lent when I see
What's the name of that color? That is a particular color.
It is orchid?
Porkid?
Orchid?
Orchid. Okay, I thought you said porkid. I was like, what is that?
It's like a pig.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome everybody, by the way.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Mary, Bonnie, Lisa. Good to see you all here. Hello, Heather and Francine. Something needs to be muted here. All right. Well, we fixed the sound, we think.
We hope we have.
Well, so Father Sean mentioned yesterday that we were coming out of one channel. And when I looked at my settings, I said, oh, that seems to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, you're coming out of both sides of your computer or whatever.
Surround sound side.
Surround sound, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
We surround you.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone else can hear a difference in the sound, let us know. You might not be able to hear it on a phone or an iPad or anything, but I think on a computer you should be equalized
right.
now.
Hopefully my voice is coming out of one side, his is coming out of the other, perhaps.
Yeah, right,
or,
right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't either. But
I remember hearing about the Beatles when they were first using stereo sound. Most of the early records are recorded in mono. I wonder when they actually switched to stereo. If they themselves ever switched, or if that was only in the recording later. I don't know. But at one point, somebody brought in a second speaker, and they looked at it and was like, "What is that for?" The idea of having stereo sound is totally foreign to them.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so a lot of their music, a lot of people think that the only way to listen to their music, at least the early stuff, I'd have to double check about like Abbey Road or some of the later albums, but a lot of people think you should only listen to mono because that is how they intended it to be listened to. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And by mono, I don't mean the disease. I mean the
only listen to the Beatles when you have mono.
Right. Exactly.
Well, welcome to the fireside chat. Here we will formally begin, and the I remember to put the little label up this time. Welcome to the fireside chat. Very good. Father Ashmore's doing some sort of camera adjustment.
Voodoo with the camera.
Voodoo magic there. Mm-hmm. Well, welcome everyone. Good to have you.
I advocate voodoo, and that is very bad. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone today?
Nothing like starting off our fireside chat with a little bit of voodoo talk.
It's true. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just in case people were wondering, we don't approve.
So today I will go to the old camera because I can make sure that I've got a better shot here. Today we are drinking
a new blend.
I had to go out to the hospital yesterday, and I stopped by Walmart because we were short of a few other supplies, and I found this magic supply of Pete's Coffee Major Dickinson's blend. Mm-hmm. A good friend of, both of ours, Father Greg Thomas, I think this is his favorite.
It's true.
And it's pretty darn good.
So. He consumes a great deal of that coffee. Mm-hmm. He's got a whole theory about how you can make it, because he's got a bun maker, and so he, halfway through the coffee making process, actually pulls back the bun maker, that way it soaks longer in the beans and everything. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's obsessed.
Okay, so anyway, that's what we're drinking today. Mm-hmm. And I still have my Hoppy Easter cup because it's still the octave. So I'm still celebrating the joy that is Easter. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to give my shout out to my nieces. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Rosalie. Hello, Laura. It's good to see you on the chat this morning. I hope that you are having a great day, and I hope today is filled with all kinds of fun, possible bunniness or Easter celebration, or perhaps M&Ms, whatever it will be.
M&Ms.
Well, yes.
I don't have any M&Ms.
Well, they have been rewarded. My sister is going to have to remind me of how this exactly works, but they... for each time that they did good behavior, I believe, mm-hmm. that they put a bean into this cup,
mm-hmm.
and then on Easter, those beans, last year they changed into jelly beans.
Oh, that is impressive.
It is, on Easter. Oh. And this year, I believe that they changed into M&Ms.
Okay.
So.
Do you know how they made them transform and then like add a little extra baking soda?
It's the magic of the Easter Bunny, I think. Mm-hmm. Easter Bunny magic.
I've been a good boy.
You didn't put any. Well, you didn't put any beans in the little bowl to.
We told me about this little process. We didn't. The Easter Bunny didn't really visit our home that much, so I never got to see some of his magic.
Well, Mary Gentry, good to see you here today. Yes, I did wear a mask that Heather made for me. I believe it was Heather and Aaron made both of us masks, and I wore that. I wore a different mask in the hospital that I had gotten from the hospital earlier. That was like I don't know. It seemed like it was a little bit more official with the thing and everything. Because I didn't want them to make me take off my mask and put on a different mask, so I put on the kind of the hospital issue mask for the hospital, and then I wore this one that Heather and Aaron made for me when I was at Walmart. So, and I had gloves on and everything. So I was trying to be very, very safe.
Here we go.
But what else were we? We were out of dish soap, and so it was getting hard. And so toilet paper is back.
Good.
It's very exciting. But dish soap is those were ravaged. So so I was not my first choice of dish soap that I picked up yesterday. But yes, I wore a mask. I wore gloves. I try to be safe. So good morning, Marilyn. Yes, Pete's is awesome. Says I and agrees Sarah, I believe. So
there we go.
Hi, Karen. Hello, Cynthia and Isabella. Good morning, everybody. Hello, Joe. So how are y'all doing? I guess we've got some new guidelines out, new guidelines. I haven't seen them yet myself, really, other than May 3rd were for the state, I think, and May 15th for the metro area. I don't know if anything has changed. Have you looked at those at all?
I don't think so.
It's pretty much same.
Just longer.
Yeah.
Just longer. As I told Father Ken yesterday when we were talking about this, I've decided that I'm just going to expect never to be able to leave the house again.
That's right.
And if that's my expectation when we get to leave the house, it'll be great. I'm just never going to be disappointed.
Right. So it's an interesting world that we live in. So, but we want to be your community in the distance and continue to foster community. Hey, speaking of that, let me float this idea past that we were talking about a little bit last night.
Sure.
Someone had mentioned about how there was a priest who was asking, actually it's Father Shawn who was here yesterday. I haven't seen him yet today. But Father Shawn was mentioning, what more can we do as priests? And someone responded, one of our parishioners actually, responded that she really enjoys hearing from the priests, but she also misses hearing from the community. And I agree. I think that's a good point, because we are looking at doing some more stuff ourselves, but we also we're only two voices, right? And the church is much bigger, of course, than the priests. And so we were talking about the possibility of maybe organizing some sort of like pre or post, probably post mass gathering via Zoom or something, because that's something that I think, like when people go to daily mass, for instance, they love going to the mass, but they also love just checking in on people and saying, hey, how are you doing? How's so and so? And that piece, even though we're live streaming the masses, the piece of the kind of the conversation is missing. So we were looking at ways. So we were thinking it'd be neat if someone, not us, and I've got some ideas of maybe some people in mind that could maybe do that. But if anyone is interested, let me know, of organizing a Zoom meeting basically, and just having a chance to kind of talk, and someone have to be the moderator and kind of maybe have some conversation points, how's your family or whatever, and so you can kind of go around and talk. But that was one of the ideas that I had of how do we get the community talking to one another. It was a beautiful thing on our Holy Thursday Christian family supper that we had. Yeah. It was so neat. We had all the families up here on the television. We had a Zoom dinner, and it was really, really nice to see people. And I think everyone else really appreciated seeing other people and how nice that was. And so we want to look for more ways to make that happen. That this is good, and it's good to see everyone in the chat, but I think just seeing people's faces and being able to talk directly to people, that was one idea that I have. If anyone else has any ideas of how we can get some other faces of the community, we don't want to cut out this part. We're enjoying this, and I think other people are enjoying that too. We're getting good feedback. But maybe just looking for other ways. If you've got some ideas, or if that idea sounds interesting to you, just let us know in the comments, or we're still thinking it out. But that was something that we're talking about.
Some form of bring your own coffee event.
Yeah, exactly. BYOC, sitting in your own fireside or whatever. Because people would go out to coffee often after Mass. Absolutely. But you can't do that nowadays. So how can you go out to coffee without going out and still seeing people? That's what we're trying to maybe see if we can make that happen. So let us know if you have any ideas about that, and we're going to try to do something along those lines. Especially if there's interest. If no one has any interest, then we won't do it, of course. But
certainly.
There's that. Hey, great quote there, Bonnie, about do not worry about tomorrow. Today's trouble is enough for today.
Exactly.
Indeed, you do. So what else are you guys doing to stay connected? Looks like we're going to be doing this for another month. So yay!
Exciting.
So, and if you missed our episode yesterday, I think it was a good episode yesterday about talking about antsiness and acedia. And I think that people are getting antsy, and we don't want to repeat too much of that today. We talked about it yesterday. Go look at yesterday's episode. Because, yes, I think lots of people hearing the news about another month did not necessarily
rejoice. Yeah, and there was great rejoicing. Yay. Right.
So, hola, Bradley. Good to see you. Yeah, so let us know. And then what are you reading? What are you doing to keep your spiritual life up? You know, it's, I think in Easter time, it's time for us to not to stop all spirituality, but to actually take it up to the next year, to use the car analogy that we're going to go now. Lent was practice. Now Easter is real time. So, yeah. So, let us know what you're doing.
Absolutely. And also, continue to send questions our direction.
Yes, please.
Because that gives us things to talk about.
That's right.
We appreciate. That way we're not just sitting talking in the camera.
Very good.
Yeah. I think as we go forward during this time, it's good to... one suggestion I might have for people, if the question is, okay, what do I do with my day? What do I do? I would say keep a strict schedule, among other things. Because it can be really easy to lose yourself in the midst of the day, losing yourself on the phone, losing yourself on whatever it is. And if you try to still get up every time in the morning at the same time, if you have an idea of, okay, this day I'm going to accomplish these things, it can make it feel like this is less of a swamp of time with which you just have to get through and more of a time that you can use.
Right.
Because I think that's really, if we want to use this time well, we've got to see it as an opportunity from our Lord to really dive into something we love.
Yep.
So
so making out an agenda each day would be a good thing. Maybe that's something we could start doing on this show. Is that came to me that
perhaps
we could say, here's what at least I could do that. Here's what I'm planning on doing today, and then I can come back the next day and say, well, these other things came up and I'd adjust, but I have plans to do these things. That might be good, at least for me, to keep myself accountable, because I can fall into, I'll just laze around a bit.
All of us can.
Good morning, Kathy. You've got a book sitting over here.
I do. This book is... I was just looking for something that is an interesting read for people today. This is a pretty low approach reading. You don't have to know a lot about the church to read this, but this is by Robert Cardinal Sarah, who is one of the cardinals of the church at this point. He is an African cardinal from Guinea. I believe he is currently the head of the CDW, and he has an incredible story.
Pause. CDW? CD Warehouse?
Yes, exactly, CD Warehouse. The Congregation of Divine Worship.
Okay.
So the people who are in charge of the liturgy in Vatican.
Can you take that closer to the ice can?
He has a series of interviews and with a man named Nicholas Diod, and I don't know anything about him. He's basically a reporter, I believe. I don't know much about him, though. But he's got a series of interviews with this man. There's this one, there's A Power of Silence, there's something else. They're very, very good. I think, however, his first one is still the best because it goes into his whole background story about how he came from paganism. He came from African paganism. And the tribal religion, he grew up in that, and then he was evangelized by Christian missionaries, Catholic missionaries who came. They were the Spiritan Fathers, with whom I know about whom I know nothing, but a very interesting story. So he has a really radical faith, and he's got a really unique perspective, because often we are used to hearing the European perspective of the faith. I come from essentially the European perspective of the faith. All of us who are in the United States do. We come from German Catholicism, Irish Catholicism, some French or Spanish Catholicism, depending on where you are. But to hear somebody who's coming from a very different perspective talk about the faith in a really radical way, I think this book is a beautiful read. It's also a really entertaining read because the story, his life is just incredible. Coming and talking about the tribal rituals that he grew up with, talking about essentially his initiation ritual, which was this 3 or 4 day ceremony that began with some kind of barbaric things and ended with folk dances, and then to hear about how he was able to embrace the faith and see the faith as the fulfillment of all the desires of that time in his heart, and it's really a beautiful read. So
I've never read it, so I might have to check it out. And I mean, I've heard of Cardinal Sarah, but he's usually talked about as a pope candidate, isn't he?
Yeah, papabile. That means he's papable. That's
What was the word?
Papabile. He's a papa. Yeah, so that means he is papable.
All right, we have our word for the day.
Yeah. P-I-B-L-E, I think. It's Italian, probably. I don't speak Italian, though, so.
He's popable.
Popable, yeah. So, I don't, who knows about any of that. I think people try to put him in boxes, whether conservative or liberal or, and I don't think he really fits into any of those boxes. But he's quite a brilliant man, and his works are beautiful. His story is beautiful. And so if you're looking for an uplifting story, also somebody who really does a good job of looking at many of the issues into the church today, and has some dialogue with his own personal experience and kind of 2,000-year view of the church, this is a great book to read.
Awesome. Very good. It's been a long time since we've had an African pope. Have we ever had an African pope?
I have no idea. Maybe before the Middle Ages.
Yeah, right. I was thinking like in Augustine's time or whatever, know. Because Augustine's African, right? Hippo?
Yeah. It'd be North Africa.
Uh-huh.
He would have been more Roman than, more of Roman culture than what we would presume African culture, just because that was part of the expansive Rome at that point.
See, it was on the African continent.
It was on the African continent, yeah, exactly. So,
Bobby, you mentioned you've been reading his Passion, Christ's Journey for the Resurrection. Is that like a bunch of different authors, like a daily reflection book, or is that by one author? That sounds very interesting.
Have we had an African pope? I'm wondering.
You're Googling it up, huh?
It's an interesting question.
Well, I thought it might be kind of interesting to consider.
Pope Victor may have been in the year 189, 199.
All right.
Oh, wait, maybe not. Maybe Victor was excommunicated. I don't know.
What? Are you searching Google or are you searching something?
Google, so I'll look this up and find out more information about that.
Very good. So what else are you doing? What's keeping you sane? What are you watching? Has anyone checked out The Chosen yet? I thought about doing that yesterday. That was on sort of my agenda, but I did some more organizing yesterday and cleaning out and trying to get my paperwork done. And then I had a meet a couple. See here, I had a fairly lengthy meeting. We had a nice meeting about the Consejo Hispano yesterday, also. And then speaking of schedule, Father Ashmore, you're doing something fun today, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to go and talk to the second graders about the Mass today.
Awesome.
So right after this, I'm going to run off and join a Zoom meeting with them, and we'll talk about... I have a beautiful little book called The Weight of a Mass, and it's a storybook. Somebody wrote a few years back. Beautiful pictures and all, and it talks about a boy and his father who are bakers, I believe, and this little old widow comes and then wants to take a piece of bread, and so the bread keeps getting weighted against the weight of a mass, and so the weight of the mass is always heavier and heavier than all the different things they find in the boy's shop. So it's a really beautiful little story. So I'm going to read that to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. We're preparing for the Divine Mercy Sunday, and I think I probably need to have a meeting here as well with our Divine Mercy group to kind of hash out the plan. We at 2 o'clock on Sunday, we're going to do the Divine Mercy devotion. Remember, we are in this we have the novena started on Good Friday for the Divine Mercy, where you're invited to pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy and prepare ourselves for the celebration of Divine Mercy Sunday. And so we're going to have at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a service there, a holy hour, with the praying of the Divine Mercy Chaplet. It's going to start actually a little bit earlier because the Spanish community also has this great devotion which is beautiful, to the Divine Mercy Sunday, and that'll start at 1:30, and then we'll go into to the English side. So basically, right after the Spanish Mass, we will be jumping into the Divine Mercy Holy Hour, Holy Hours, or whatever. One of the members there was concerned because 3:00 is that key hour, because that's that's a moment we remember where Christ died, and that's that moment of divine mercy. So it might be a holy hours. Who knows? We'll keep I said I've got nothing to do the rest of the day, so I'll just stay and pray. It's fine, no problem.
I had not heard the news yet.
Yeah, well, this came out of our
okay.
Yeah, I'm not volunteering you necessarily, but I volunteered myself to be there and to facilitate that. So Divine Mercy Sunday. It's also recommended, if you have not been to confession yet, before Divine Mercy Sunday, to go to confession. We have confession time tonight, 5:00 to 6:00. And then on Saturday from 3:30 to 4:30. Again, drive-through. We are not going to continue our Wednesday confessions throughout. The last night was our last one because
very few people showed up.
We had two cars come through. So much different than last week. Not surprising. That happens all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't normally have confessions after Easter anyway. All the parishes in Kansas City, Kansas are required to offer confessions from 6 to 7 during Lent. Some parishes have continued that on. Mm-hmm. Good Shepherd has not had the tradition of doing that, and we will not have that tradition this year because there doesn't seem to be an interest to do that. And we already do have our Thursday evening, so we do have an opportunity during the week from 5 to 6. So we're going to maintain that, and we'll do that every week. But there is we're going to cancel the Wednesday ones. So we thought we'd look at it to see if there's still a great call for that, but there wasn't, so no problem. But there's a couple more opportunities for confession. So
there we go.
But yeah, last week was packed. If you didn't see the Kansas City Star, they did
take a look at it.
A really nice job. Maybe I'll put that link there too. I mean, they really captured it well. You know, the Star sometimes gets a bad rap or whatever, and sometimes they have some things that might come across as kind of not really pro-Catholic Church or whatever. But this is a lovely kind of video article, and I love the video footage. He got a drone there, and he took it up, and you could see things from above. And then I like all the footage that kind of captures the sense of it's just weird, you know, because there's like all this wind blowing all over the place, and but it was they did a nice job. So. And Bradley wrote a little bit of research about our North African popes. So it's been a long time. So
it looks like the last one was in 496. So it'd be a nice little change. I'd welcome it.
Well, we broke the European thing with our last one.
Well, most popes were Italian for probably 1,000 years or so, maybe more than that, up until Pope John Paul II. Then you had a Polish pope. Then with Benedict, you had a German pope. Now we have an Argentinian pope. Who knows what we'll have next?
Who knows? So we'll see what the Spirit has in mind. I'm looking for that little link here. I presume it's still up.
Yep, there we go.
There it is. So I'll just post that link. I thought they did a nice job with the article.
One nice thing, actually, with the separation of the papacy from some of its political power back in... with the dissolution of the papal states, it made it so that there was more of a possibility for other people to be involved in the papacy as such. Because prior to that, it was prior to Pope Pius IX, and then really finally it would have been Pope Pius the 11th and whatnot.
When were they?
Pope Pius IX would have been the 1850s.
Okay.
Pius XI would have been the 1930s. I'd have to double check on some of those. Those are the dates, but I'd have to double check on some of the arrangements with the Vatican Treaty, it's called, and Lateran Treaty. But that's all kind of beside the point. That's just to say, prior to that, the papacy was generally connected also with a lot of earthly power.
Right.
We had land called the Papal States, and that's our remnant of that is the fact that Vatican today is an independent country.
Right.
It's one of the smallest independent countries, but it's an independent country. But after that, the position of the papacy ended up becoming something more spiritual rather than earthly power. So that allowed it to... expand so that it wasn't only Italians, because Italians knew Italian politics. It could be people from all over the world.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and also the fact that we sometimes forget that the Pope is also the Bishop of Rome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so
he's also the King of Rome. No, the King of the Vatican.
Oh, okay.
He's a king.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
That's why he gets that crown or whatever, the tiara, mm-hmm. or used to. I think Pope John Paul I got rid of something.
Yeah. So Paul VI was the last one to be crowned with the papal tiara. But he was also the last one to stop using it because he only used it, I think, for half of his papacy. And then John Paul I didn't use it at all.
Uh-huh.
Pope John Paul II still had it in his coat of arms, and Pope Benedict removed it from the coat of arms. Huh? So now, when you look at the... actually, they did something fascinating here.
Oh, please.
So the papal tiara was a triple tiara that showed the different realms that they ruled in. They ruled in an earthly way, they ruled in a spiritual way, and you were ruled in a heavenly way, essentially. So there was 3 levels to the crown. So that was a symbol of it.
Uh-huh.
And so after the papal tiara no longer became a symbol of the papacy, no longer was used as a symbol of the papacy because it didn't have that same earthly power any longer, Pope Benedict decided to use a mitre in the coat of arms. The mitre is the symbol of the bishopric, of the episcopate. That's their hat, like that.
Pointy
looks
hat.
Looks like a fire. So that's what it's supposed to symbolize.
Oh, really?
Fire.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that. Yeah, it's neat because they're like a Pentecost.
Exactly, precisely. Mm-hmm. But what he did is he maintained 3 levels in the mitre. So if you look at the mitre, on the mitre there are 3 levels, and that shows that's like a papal mitre in the coat of arms. And there's no such thing as a papal mitre. The Pope wears a mitre just like the bishop does, so they look the same. But in the coat of arms there are 3 levels on it, because it's a throwback to the papal tiara.
Well, I'll be little church trivia there. Uh-huh. Well, maybe that'll be on trivia night this coming year. How many layers?
We call that a deep cut, right?
A deep cut, yes. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, it's a long time till trivia night in January 2021, but you heard it here first, folks. The 3 layers to the papal mitre. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So here is a papal tiara. I'll copy and paste that way people can know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't think you can do it because I tried doing a photo before. Remember, you can't do that in the comments.
Oh, maybe you're right.
But if you find it, then I could put it into the Wirecast for tomorrow or something.
Okay.
Or you could put the link up there. I suppose.
I'm putting the link there.
Yeah.
So there's a papal tiara. Hey, stop it. Come on, work with me here.
So anyway, I was also saying so it's the Bishop of Rome, which also means that, generally bishops are taken at least from their own country. I mean, Archbishop Naumann is from St. Louis, which might seem for many people a different country, but he's still pretty local, and that tends to be the case with bishops as well. So having someone to come and be, if you can imagine like a Frenchman or something coming and being our bishop, he might have like a hard road to boat. It might be difficult for him to make connections with the people and everything, being so far removed from culture or whatever. So that's the other thing that they have traditionally kept in mind, and that role of the Bishop of Rome is still part of the papacy, and it's not as emphasized as perhaps it once was. He's much more of a global figure nowadays. Mm-hmm. But before, it was less pronounced of the global figure. And
that's actually a really modern phenomenon. Uh-huh. People don't realize that.
A what?
A modern phenomenon.
Yeah,
there we go. And until Pope Pius IX, the Bishop of Rome really was not paid that much attention to, the Pope. He was very important, but some friends of mine have a joke that, in the Middle Ages, people knew people recognized the Pope, they accepted his authority, and they maybe knew his name. Okay. That was kind of the relationship that most people had with the Pope during that time.
Well, they didn't have email back then.
They didn't have email, right, exactly. And so Pope Pius IX was a bit more of a strong figure, And then Pope Leo XIII was the first one to really start the tradition of writing the different letters.
Encyclicals and stuff?
Thank you very much. I was thinking of epistles, that's not right. Encyclicals. So Leo XIII is the one that we get that tradition really from.
And these are very new.
1870s, 1880s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then gradually there was more of a spiritual role, more of a spiritual role. And it wasn't until Pope Paul VI that the Bishop of Rome really even left Rome. Pope Paul VI was the first bishop to travel. And this is in the 1960s and 70s.
Right.
Then Pope John Paul II traveled all over
the
place.
He took off, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pope Benedict traveled a lot, and Pope Francis doesn't travel nearly as much as Pope Benedict did, or Pope John Paul, but that's partly because both of them are pretty old.
Yeah, we kind of expect popes to travel now, too. And so, like, if a pope was to say, I'm just going to hang out in the Vatican, people would say, what? He's not reaching the world or whatever. But that is a legitimate way that the pope could do his papacy, because it's a very modern thing for the pope to travel and do these World Youth Days and have these big events. And
so Pope Pius XII, when he was the Secretary of State, and his name was Eugenio Pacelli, he visited the United States back in, I think, 1938. I'd have to double check on the date, but I think 1938. And he was treated as though he was the Pope, because it was such a big deal to receive the Secretary of State for Vatican, let alone the Pope. I mean, the Pope comes around to the United States every 5-10 years now.
Right.
Basically.
Which is incredible.
Right, exactly. I mean, so people get excited for when the Pope visits, but it was a huge deal when the Secretary of State, Eugenio Pacelli, came and visited in 1938, because that was groundbreaking. Isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating, yeah. So, well, there's a little bit of papal history for you today. We didn't think we were going to be going down that road, but it all came from maybe being papable.
Exactly.
Papible or whatever. Cardinal Sarah's book, God or Nothing, is a great recommendation from Father Ashmore. Have either of you attended World Youth Day? Yes, I attended the one in Denver in 1993. That was a major event for me personally. It's one of the reasons I'm a priest, is going to World Youth Day. I had just graduated from high school, and I was getting ready to go to college. So for me, it was kind of a perfect moment in my life when I was doing a transition from high school into college. But I hadn't, that's kind of a strange time when you're like, I have nothing. I've got no connections. I'm just moving into something new. So it's perfect timing for me. And I remember talking to some friends, and one of my good friends, who's still one of my good close friends, Mike Book, was on the trip with me, and I remember talking to him about possibly that maybe I was called to be a priest.
1936, not 1938. Wow. I'll have to remember that.
Dang. So at that time, so it was very powerful. That was with John Paul II, obviously. And then you?
I went to Poland 3 years ago. So we went to Krakow. It was a beautiful trip. Really a delightful... we were there for about a week and a half, I think. All the seminarians who could go went, and the bishop took us, so we spent the whole time with the bishop, traveling, seeing all the holy sites in Poland. Poland is a beautiful place. If you want to go to an incredible Catholic country, go to Poland. It's a beautiful place. The cultures I really enjoyed. And the zloty, which is their local currency, is 2.9 zloty to $1.
Okay.
So it's cheap.
But who knows what that's going to be nowadays.
Oh, I bet it's even better now. I don't know. What is the exchange rate for a zloty? Let's see.
You can look that thing up there. So I think you have a.
I have to get going.
You have to get going because you got to go read to them kids about the Mass. Well, thanks for tuning in today, and if you have any more questions, let us know. Oh, you very good. I remember seeing you, Emily. You were like 17 squares over to the right, and just kidding. It was huge. It was huge. So what a powerful event. Were you at the
4 to 1 now?
Okay.
4 zloty to $1 US. So you can live like a king.
Were you at the Mile High Stadium thing there, Emily? That was probably my highlight. Was that because that was when the Pope appeared, and then it was raining, and then the rainbow appeared right as the Pope was coming in, and so it was a powerful event. But not everyone got to go to that because you had to have special tickets or something. But Yeah, it was a powerful event. I saw Catholicism like I'd never seen it before. So, yeah.
But I have to get out of here.
Yep.
It's 10:38. So
it is.
thank you all very much.
Thanks for tuning in, and have a beautiful rest of your day. And we will be here tomorrow, 10 o'clock. So, rosary. Did we talk about rosary?
No, we haven't discussed rosary
Okay,
yet.
so there's probably going to be a rosary today. So we'll let you know.
God bless.
Thanks.
Bum, bum. All right.
Molly, be careful.
Bum, 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 bum. Oh, see you later.
All right, see ya. All right. All right. Okay, you lived in Chicago at the time, Molly. Okay, very good. And you were at the livestock event center. Very good. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in, and I will stop the stream.